I'm Trisha Morris from Club Scrap based here in Neenah, Wisconsin. So I've got 3 goals for our 20 minutes together. First, I want to show you how you can create something out of products and supplies you already have in your stash. Secondly, I want to show you some tips, techniques, and tools that I use to kick my scrapbooking up a notch. And third, I'll explain how the Club Scrap membership works and how these time-saving techniques transfer into what we offer our members every single month at Club Scrap. All you need are 5 sheets of 12 by 12 paper to get going. So paper A, B, C, and then 2 of the same color for paper D. I'm also using my 12-inch Fiskars guillotine trimmer. I'm also using something that I made myself. This is an accordion pocket file, and we use these every month at Club Scrap while we make 8 layouts at a time. So as we trim our pieces, they're sorted into one of 4 pockets. So I'm going to just go ahead and place the lip of the accordion pocket file underneath the base of my trimmer, and that holds the pocket vertically so that I can just easily and quickly place all the pieces I've trimmed into the pockets. Everything we trim that will end up on the left side of the layout will go into the first pocket, and everything we trim for the right side of the layout will go in the second pocket. Now, of course, you probably don't have this accordion pocket file yet. No worries, just simply have 2 piles, one for the left page and one for the right page. And I'm selecting for paper A print from our Vintage Americana collection. And I have this beautiful flag print, and then I have a red plain, a blue plain. Those are my A, B, and C papers. And then I also have 2 caramel colored or gold colored planes. Those will be the base of my layout, so these do not get trimmed. Now, our instructions every month for our kits look very similar to this, except the indicators on the graphic will tell you which pages will be used on. In this case, I just decided to put in an L and an R so you would know what paper goes where. And you can see here on this first diagram that it says papers A and B. So these 2 first pieces will be trimmed exactly the same way. So it says trim papers A and B at 9 1/4. Now, most days I would just trim both at the same time, but I'm going to go one at a time because you're probably new to this. So I'm going to find on my cutting board or on my trimmer here, I do have the inch measurements. That's the second row of numbers. Here's 9. And then if I just go 1 vertical column to the left, that's 9 1/4. Stabilize on the clear bar before I slice. That keeps the paper from buckling when the blade comes down. Then I'm going to rotate this and I'll cut at 8 1/2. Okay, now this piece, because it's A, will go in the first pocket or the first pile. And then this other piece will go in the second pocket. And now I have this long strip. Our first trim is at 11 inches, then 9 1/4, then 6 1/2, and finally 3 3/4. Okay, so this piece will go into the left pocket along with 2 other squares that we trimmed earlier. So all 3 of these go in the first pocket. And then we have this little rectangle. With this trimmer, I can trim a paper of pretty much any size. I'm going to trim this horizontally at 1 3/4, but bring it to the middle of the measuring area and cut it 1 3/4. And I just made a square. So I'm going to put that square in second pocket. Okay, now I regret to inform you that these are scraps. My guess is you could probably find a home for them if you wanted to, but that's a very tolerable amount of scrap for our project. Next, I'm going to grab the next sheet of paper in my pile. This is paper B, or in this case, I selected red. So our first cut is at 9 1/4. And then let's rotate that and cut it 8 1/2. Now this larger piece is going to go in the second pile, and the skinny piece this time is going to go in the first pile, or for the left side of the layout. Now we have the strip. We'll cut this again at 11, 9 1/4, 6 1/2, and 3 3/4. This piece and one of the squares, place it in your second pile. Then this square, you can place that in your first pile, or the left pile. Then we have the rectangle. Remember, you can trim at the midpoint because there are measuring marks here as well. And I'll cut that at 1 3/4. And this square will go into the second pocket. And once again, we have 2 little scraps here. Taking paper C. So 11 1/2 is the first cut. Then let's trim at 11. and then 8, and finally 4. Rotate this 4-inch piece and we'll cut horizontally at 9 and 6. Take the large 4x6 mat you just made, that goes in the first pocket, and then you have 2 matching rectangles. Put 1 in each of those pockets, the first and the second. Okay, now this next strip, this is currently 4x12, so this is the other one. We'll cut this horizontally at 10 and 5. You made 2 matching rectangles. Those go in the second pocket or pile. And you have a little 2x4. We're going to cut this horizontally at 2, and you'll notice again, and I'm going to the midpoint. You don't have to, but I kind of like to for those smaller pieces. These go in the second pocket. You have another piece. This is 3x12. We're going to do a simple cut here. This is at 9, 6, and 3. What that gives us is 4 perfect squares. 3 of them will go in the first pocket, and 1 of them goes in the second pocket. Then finally you have 2 narrow strips. Put 1 in each of your piles or pockets, and that's a hot pocket. It's all done. Next, let's take the 2 pieces we've selected to be paper D. That's the base of our pages, and I'm going to put them side by side in front of me. And from the pockets, I'm going to take everything out of the first one and put that to the left. Then I'll take everything out of the second one, and that's going to end up on the right. So I'll start out by taking this largest piece. I'm going to put that along the left edge of my base paper, followed by the red piece, in this case paper B, that should be the same height and kind of forms a little block of my base here. Then across the top, I'm going to add the 4x6. In this case, it's blue. Right next to it, there should be another piece of the same color that has a mate that nests right with it. Now, let's just say, I don't like that stripe going the wrong direction. You can do something really handy and just flip the paper over to the plain side if you want. No problem. Then there should be 3 perfect squares, and then I'll nest some smaller squares, and they're designed to fit in there perfectly. Next, I'll take everything on the right side of the layout, and we'll continue on by placing the largest piece right next to the red, and it should be able to just line up really nicely. And then this print carries over from the left to the right side here. Once again, we'll kind of anchor everything with this sweet little blue strip. Let's see what's happening. We've got like a medium-sized mat with a piece of red that nests on top of that. Another blue square with a piece of red that nests on that. 2 verticals, 2 smaller squares, and then 2 nesting squares. So of course nothing is set in stone. You could absolutely flip this over to the plain side if you wish, however you want to do your page. And then you can also switch it so that they're running vertically, or rotate them any way you wish. Very few, if any, scraps. And I'm helping you use what you have in your stash. Do you have a stash at home by any chance? If so, this is the cure for that. The next part of our agenda for today is for me to show you a few of my favorite tools, and I've already showed you 2 of them. The first one is that guillotine trimmer. This does not leave my side. It's very lightweight. And then I also showed you the accordion pocket file. I've got these accordion pocket file starter kits. Of course, you can make this just with my video tutorial, but if you get the starter kit, it comes with our awesome Club Scrap bookbinding glue, a nice 2-ounce bottle of that, as well as a needle tip applicator that I love to use for applying my adhesive, and then the labels for the pockets, and also some hook and loop dots to help hold this to the back of your trimmer, just as a safety. Now the other tool that I really love is my 3x14 grid ruler. This ruler is my right hand basically when I'm scrapbooking. And on the ruler, there's a 0 to 14 on one side, and then the other goes 7, 0, 0, 7. So if I'm going to start adding things to this layout, the first thing I would do is I'd probably start by nesting these squares onto the page, onto their mats, and I'll just go ahead and do that. Okay, so all those pieces are basically nested. Then I'm going to set them aside. I can consult my image again for placing those in the correct place. But the first piece I'm going to put down is this red running along the center. Now by center, I can actually perfectly place this. So here's the 6 on my ruler. There's the 0, and there's another 6. Now, if I take this and I match it along the edge, when I get to the measurement of, in this case, it's 4 5/8, not too hard. There's 4 1/2, 4 5/8 on each side. I know that that's going to be the center. So I will apply adhesive to my panel. Make sure my ruler hasn't moved. I'm going to rest this panel with the adhesive on it at 4 5/8 on each side, and I'm going to drop it down. And now I know it's perfectly centered from top to bottom. I can then easily just add adhesive to the printed area, printed piece, rest that against my existing page, and drop that down. Now I think I'm going to have this running through the center here, and that's going to be at, this is going to be at 6 inches again. And once I kind of figure out where that's going to be, I'm going to rotate my ruler and just place it on my page and rest it against the edge of the strip, and that way I know it's perfectly level. Another thing you can do is take rulers of other sizes. We also have one that I can rest on here and combine this larger one so that I know I've got it nice and level and at the correct measurement. It's kind of a cool thing. When I'm adhering really narrow strips like this, I typically use a needle tip applicator with our bookbinding glue in it, and this is what you would get if you got that accordion pocket file kit. And I just dispense this liquid adhesive. It gives me a little bit of adjustment time as well if I don't place it perfectly. Now with the adhesive on, I'll rest this along the edge of the ruler, drop it in place, and press down. And it did move, so now I can move it back because it was a liquid adhesive. I have that flexibility. So now I know this piece of paper is perfectly level and perfectly centered top to bottom. You might think, oh, geez, that's kind of intense, Trisha. So if this is way past what you really want to do with your pages, of course, that's fine. But I do really love to have that as an option. And then, of course, you can just adhere things as well. And in a situation like this, you by all means can, once again, take your grid ruler and rest it on a straight edge, and just rest these on the ruler just to make sure they're equally spaced and level. Because there's nothing I hate more than adding like a strip like this and having it be crooked, and then everything else after that is crooked as well. It really bugs me. So that grid ruler and a combination thereof, we also have a 2x8 size that is just kind of handy for card making, and when you can't find your 2x8 or your 3x14 or your 8x8. Sometimes I just use a little guy. Either way, this is a really essential tool for me. They're not a huge investment, but they sure pack a lot of power behind making you look like a professional. The next thing I use my 8x8 grid ruler for is when I'm finishing my layout. So if I hover my ruler over the spot, the reading I get is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. No problem. I'm going to hover over my picture and make sure if I trim this to 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, this is the perfect picture for this spot. I'll trim it to that and plop it in place. But I will assure you that this is the fastest way to make beautiful layouts without all the agony of trying to figure out what they're going to look like. When you start with a picture, it takes a lot longer than when you start with a layout. And you'd be surprised. Let me show you a few other completed layouts using this formula. I handed this formula to Karen, who works at Club Scrap, and she took papers from the Hello Sunshine collection, that was from earlier this year, and finished it out following the same exact recipe, and was able to create these beautiful layouts of her and her daughter at the Botanical Gardens in Green Bay from last summer. The next pair of pages were made with next month's kit. This is July's Prism collection. So I took one of the beautiful white prints, a yellow plane, 2 blue planes, and then a light blue plane, followed the same exact formula, and made this gorgeous layout using pictures from our 20th anniversary cruise from last March. So Club Scrap has been making kits now for 21 years. Speaking of, let's go to the third part of our presentation. I just want to tell you a little bit about how a Club Scrap membership works. I have a bunch of things to show you here, but first is the beautiful box. Our kits are shipped in a really nice sturdy 12.5 inch by 12.5 inch pizza box, And our members use these for all kinds of things once they've carried the kit to their doorstep, like paper storage and organizing and filing their pages. Inside the Prism collection, I have it out of the packaging and everything so you can see, but we've got some beautiful ribbons, some gorgeous prismatic washi tape, we have some medallions and some little jewels, we have some foam adhesive circles with a pull tab. This is just one example of a collection. Then we give you a set of 12 pre-cut photo mats. These are trimmed to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 because you can't get this size efficiently from a 12-inch sheet of paper. So we just give those to you pre-cut. Then we've got 4 really cool long tags, and then we have some sheets of cut aparts, and these are pieces of artwork that help you finish your layouts more quickly. Here is that gorgeous Prism 12 by 12 white print, and then we have the 12 by 12 black print, plus a whole assortment of other papers. Most of them are 80-pound cover weight. If I can get it in that weight, I do. And that, my friends, is the Club Scrap July Prism collection. So if you were to join the club today, for example, this would be the kit you would receive, and it would ship next week. But that's not really all that you receive, because there's so much more support that we provide to help you use everything in the box. That starts out with a sheet of a printable. It's a download of very detailed instructions that follow suit with what you've already learned from me today. So that includes an image of each cut apart sheet that we gave you, plus the roadmap for how those pieces are used. What layout will that be used on? Well, the number is right there. So of course, then you can file it in your accordion pocket file. So that's kind of a handy thing. Plus, there will be a video with yours truly. I'll walk you through the trimming process. We'll do it together. On the next page is all of the specific trimming instructions and the map to where each piece will be used on what layout and whether or not it's a scrap. For example, on this particular kit, there is that piece with an X on it. That means it wasn't used. In other words, after taking all of the stuff in that box, this little 1/4 inch piece is the only piece that you won't use if you follow our assembly instructions. Do you have to do that? By no means. You can do whatever you want with our kits, but we have found that our members take so much more joy in their scrapbooking if they don't have to stress out about how it's going to turn out, and they don't have to worry about deciding what goes where. We just take care of it for you. Followed by that is an image of all 4 double page spreads. So that's 8 layouts per month. And it even tells you what size the photo would need to be to fit perfectly into the spot that we've created. So these instructions are extremely helpful, but they're always accompanied by an assembly video where I will walk you through. So here is the example of our July Prism collection. After following the instructions, this is what the pages look like. We use the washi tape, the ribbon, all the things that we've included. Check out those cute little gems. I just love this. It's so colorful, so bright and beautiful. And again, perfect for outdoor pictures, cruise pictures, travel, vacation, poolside. Maybe you're at home doing nothing all summer. I don't know, but I'm guessing it's going to go beautifully on these gorgeous colorful papers. So that was the 8 layouts that you would get if you followed my instructions. And I want to show you one other thing that is included with your membership, and that is an additional download, just like the one that you did with me today. It's another page formula. This one is for next month, July, and it tells you what to gather, exactly how to trim it, and the page it will create. So I went ahead and just made a sample page of the layout formula you will get if you join and you use this page formula with papers from the Prism collection or with papers from your stash, because again, I want to help you every month use what you have, use what we send, so the stuff isn't accumulating and then overwhelming you. I admit I am a little overwhelmed by my stash at home, and I've not been adding to it since I've developed this clever method. So build your library of page formulas as a Club Scrap member. I really would love to have you join us at Club Scrap. And if you're interested, I do have a gift for you. If you join through July 2nd and use the code SSBE0620 when you join, you will be given this accordion pocket file kit. The sheet of paper in here, if you flip it over, is the link and password for the instruction tutorial, the video tutorial, and a printable. And I will guide you through assembling this into your accordion pocket file of your very own so that you can be as efficient as possible in making your pages. So thank you so much for tuning in to this presentation. I hope you learned something. I hope that we met our goals. And again, shop with SSBE 0620 as your code, and you'll get free shipping on orders over $40. You'll get the accordion pocket file kit if you join, and you will get your member discounts through July 2nd. That is substantial. You'll save $8 on kits. But keep in mind too, if you don't want to join, you can always shop. Whether you're a member or not, we'd love to have you. See you soon.